Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
Your past is a shadow that clings to you, whispering reminders of everything you wish you could forget. It drags behind you, heavy and relentless, feeding your mind with doubts and regrets. It tells you that you're defined by your failures, by your mistakes, by the moments you were weak. The world loves to reinforce this lie, to keep you tethered to who you were instead of who you could become. But let me tell you, the past isn't a life sentence unless you let it be. The shackles you feel, the weight you carry, it's all in your mind. And that's exactly where the battle must begin. The past is seductive. It whispers that staying in its grasp is safer than stepping into the unknown. It convinces you that its chains are protection, not imprisonment. It points to your failures as evidence, mocking your dreams, eroding your confidence, and feeding the fear that you'll never rise above who you once were. But safety is the greatest deception of all. There's no safety in stagnation, no comfort in standing still while the world moves on. The past thrives on your hesitation, growing stronger every time you look back instead of forward. The scars you carry, the memories that haunt you, they aren't proof of your limits. They're proof of your survival. Yet too many let those scars define them, mistaking pain for identity. They cling to their wounds, wear them like badges, and call it self-awareness. But there's nothing noble about staying broken. Pain is meant to be a teacher, not a prison guard. The lessons of the past are meant to guide you, not confine you. If you're still letting your past dictate your future, then you're not learning, you're surrendering. The world loves to label people by their pasts. It simplifies you, reduces you, keeps you in a box where you're easy to predict and control. But those labels are not your story. Your failures, your mistakes, your darkest moments, they are chapters, not conclusions. Yet so many cling to the idea that their past defines them, that they have no right to rewrite the narrative. This is the lie that keeps you trapped, the lie that keeps you small. Your past is a page, not the whole book. Escaping your past doesn't mean denying it. It means confronting it, owning it, and then leaving it behind. The prison of the past isn't made of the events that happened. It's made of your refusal to move on. Every time you relive the same mistakes, the same regrets, you tighten the chains. But those chains are only as strong as the power you give them. They can be broken the moment you decide to stop feeding them with your fear and self-doubt. The key has always been in your hands. Your past will never let you go willingly. It will cling to you with every ounce of its strength, trying to pull you back, trying to convince you that forward isn't an option. It will use guilt as a weapon, shame as a chain, and nostalgia as a trap. But you are stronger than the past. You have the power to rewrite your story, to reclaim your identity, to rise above the mistakes and failures that once held you back. The moment you stop seeing the past as an enemy and start seeing it as a stepping stone, you begin to free yourself. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting, it means transforming. It means taking the lessons your past has given you and using them to build a future that no longer repeats the same patterns. It means seeing your scars not as marks of defeat, but as symbols of resilience. The past only has power over you if you give it permission. Take that power back. Refuse to let yesterday dictate the choices you make today. You owe the past nothing, but you owe the future everything. The prison of the past is comfortable, familiar, even addictive. But it is a prison nonetheless, and every moment you spend inside its walls is a moment stolen from the life you could be living. Comfort is the enemy of progress, and nostalgia is the enemy of growth. Stop looking back. Stop revisiting the scenes that no longer serve you. Burn the bridges that lead you to nowhere. The past is not your home, it's a place you've outgrown. The future doesn't care about your past. It doesn't care how many times you've failed, how many mistakes you've made, or how many times you've fallen short. It cares only about what you do now, about the choices you make today. And the choice is simple. Remain a prisoner of your past, or break free and build something better. The chains are in your mind, and the key is your willingness to let go. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The time to break free is now. The human mind is a complex machine, built to create shortcuts in order to navigate a chaotic world. These shortcuts, or mental models, are the frameworks you rely on to interpret events and make decisions. They are shaped by your experiences, by the victories and failures that have defined your journey. But these models, while useful, are not infallible. The failures of your past are not chains unless you allow them to be. But anchoring bias ensures that they feel unshakable. This cognitive trap ties you to your lowest moments, forcing you to see every future opportunity through the lens of what went wrong before. It convinces you that failure defines you, that the weight of one mistake is enough to anchor you in mediocrity forever. But here's the truth. Failure is only a teacher, not a sentence. And like any lesson, its value depends on how you choose to interpret it. Anchoring bias thrives on emotion. It latches onto the pain, the humiliation, the regret, and magnifies them until they become your reality. It blinds you to the progress you've made, the lessons you've learned, and the strength you've gained. It convinces you that because you failed once, you'll fail again. But this is a lie. The events of your past are static. They don't move, they don't grow. You, however, are dynamic. You are constantly changing, learning, and evolving. Anchoring yourself to a static point in time denies your ability to grow. The only way to break free from anchoring bias is to reframe your failures. Stop seeing them as the end and start seeing them as experiments. An experiment is not judged by its success or failure, it's judged by what it reveals. Every failure you've experienced has given you data. It's shown you what doesn't work, where you need to improve, and how you can do better next time. This data is invaluable, but only if you choose to use it. If you let it, it can refine your understanding of success in ways no victory ever could. Reframing failure doesn't mean diminishing its impact. It means shifting your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What did this teach me?" Instead of dwelling on the pain, focus on the growth. Failure is not a scar, it's a map. It shows you where you've been and where you can go next. But you'll never see the path forward if you keep looking back with regret. The most successful people in the world are not those who avoid failure. They're those who embrace it. They understand that every stumble, every setback, every disappointment is a stepping stone to success. They don't let anchoring bias hold them down because they refuse to see failure as an anchor. They see it as a platform, something to build upon, something to rise from. And that mindset is what sets them apart. Letting go of anchoring bias requires courage. It requires you to confront your failures, to face the pain and learn from it. But more than that, It requires you to let go of the idea that failure defines you. You are not your mistakes. You are the lessons you've learned from them, the resilience you've built, the strength you've gained. Every failure has made you better, but only if you choose to see it that way. The past is unchangeable, but your perspective is not. You have the power to reframe your failures, to see them not as weights, but as wings. Anchoring bias tries to pull you down to keep you grounded in the mistakes of yesterday. But you can rise above it. You can choose to see failure for what it truly is. A necessary part of growth, a tool for learning, a stepping stone to success. Success is not the absence of failure, it is the mastery of it. It is the ability to take the lessons of the past and use them to build a future that is stronger, brighter, and more resilient. Anchoring bias may try to hold you back, but you're not a prisoner of your past unless you choose to be. Reframe your failures, reclaim your power, and move forward with the confidence that every mistake has prepared you for what's next. The past is a phantom, an illusion that only lives in the corners of your mind. It feels real, tangible, as though its weight is pressing against your chest. But it isn't real, it doesn't exist anymore. It's nothing more than a collection of memories, distorted by your emotions and filtered through your perspective. The events are gone, the people are gone, and the circumstances have evaporated. All that remains is the story you tell yourself about what happened. Yet that story has the power to enslave you, to trap you in a reality that no longer exists. Living in the past is the ultimate betrayal of the present. Every moment you spend replaying old regrets, reliving old pain, or reimagining old victories is a moment stolen from the now. The present is the only thing that exists, the only place where you can act, change, and grow. But when your mind is consumed by the past, you are blind to the opportunities in front of you. You are so busy looking backward that you miss the life unfolding right here, right now. And in doing so, you condemn yourself to an existence of stagnation. The past often feels like a safe place to retreat. Its familiarity gives you comfort, even when it hurts. But comfort is not the same as progress. Revisiting the past doesn't heal you, it anchors you. You replay the same memories, reinforce the same pain, and dig deeper into the wounds that should have been left to heal. This cycle keeps you stuck, unable to move forward because you're too busy living in what no longer exists. The past is gone, but your obsession with it keeps it alive. To escape this mental prison, you must confront the truth. The past is a story, and you are its author. You choose how it's written, how it's remembered, and how much power it holds over you. The events themselves have no meaning, they are neutral. The meaning comes from you, from the narrative you attach to them. Change the narrative, and you change the way the past affects you. Rewrite it, reframe it, and then let it go. The past has served its purpose. It's time to move on. The power of the present lies in its potential. Right now, you have the ability to create, to grow, to shape your future. But that power is wasted if your mind is chained to what's already happened. Every second you spend trapped in the past is a second stolen from your potential. And the more you dwell on what's gone, the more you neglect what could be. The present is fleeting, and it will not wait for you to stop looking backward. Letting go of the past doesn't mean forgetting it. It means accepting it for what it is, a memory, a lesson, a chapter that has already been written. It means allowing yourself to live fully in the now, unburdened by what you cannot change. The past cannot hurt you unless you let it. Its power comes from your focus, your attention, your willingness to dwell on it. Take that power away. Turn your focus to the present, and the past will fade into the background where it belongs. The present moment is all you have. It is where life happens, where opportunities arise, and where growth occurs. Yet, so many people waste it, consumed by thoughts of yesterday. They live as though the past is more important than the now, as though what has already happened should dictate what comes next. But this is a lie. The past is irrelevant. It's done. What matters is what you do now, how you act now, how you live now. The chains of the past are imaginary, but their effects are real. They hold you back, slow you down, and keep you from stepping into your full potential. But those chains can be broken the moment you realize they are self-imposed. You are not bound by your past unless you choose to be. The key is in your hands, and it has always been. Use it. Free yourself. Live in the now. Life is not measured by the absence of struggle. It's defined by how you endure it. The fire you face may be relentless, burning through your dreams, your confidence, and your strength. But what matters most is not the flames themselves. It's how you walk through them. The fire is unavoidable. It is the price of growth, the cost of progress. Yet too many allow it to consume them, to break them, to leave them as ashes of who they once were. But those who survive the fire do not just survive. They rise stronger, sharper, unbreakable. The fire represents the hardships, the failures, the pain that life throws your way. It is not fair, it is not kind, and it does not discriminate. But it is necessary. Without the fire, there is no transformation. It burns away the weak parts of you, the doubts, the excuses, the fears, leaving behind only what is strong enough to endure. This is the essence of growth. To walk through the fire and emerge not as who you were, but as who you are meant to become. To walk through the fire well is not about avoiding the pain. It's about embracing it. Pain is a signal, a teacher, a reminder that you are alive and capable of change. Those who fear pain avoid the fire, choosing comfort over growth. But comfort is a slow death, a prison disguised as safety. The fire may hurt, but it also purifies. It transforms you into something greater. The question is not whether you will face the fire. The question is how you will face it. The fire will test you. It will push you to your limits, challenge your beliefs, and force you to confront your weaknesses. It will demand everything you have and then ask for more. But in that testing, you will find your strength. You will discover what you are truly capable of, what lies beneath the surface of your doubts and fears. The fire does not destroy you. It reveals you. What matters most is your willingness to keep moving forward, even when the flames surround you. It's about finding the courage to take one more step, to endure one more moment, to keep walking even when the pain feels unbearable. Because every step you take through the fire brings you closer to freedom, closer to the person you were meant to be. The fire is not the end. It is the beginning. Your mind is a trap when left unchecked, and confirmation bias is one of its most cunning snares. It feeds off the familiar, pushing you to seek out evidence that reinforces what you already believe, especially the beliefs rooted in your past. If you think your past failures define you, confirmation bias ensures you'll find proof of that belief everywhere. Every setback becomes validation of your inadequacy, every mistake a reminder that you're unworthy of success. But this isn't the truth. It's a distorted lens you've been conditioned to accept. And like any lens, it can be changed. Confirmation bias thrives on repetition. It trains your mind to filter out anything that doesn't fit the narrative you've constructed about yourself. If you've told yourself that you're doomed to repeat the same failures, your mind will fixate on every instance that supports that story, ignoring the countless ways you've grown and improved. This mental pattern is what keeps so many chained to their past, unable to see beyond their own limitations. But you have the power to disrupt it. By consciously seeking evidence of your capacity for change, you can rewire the way you think about yourself. The key to breaking free from confirmation bias is awareness. Start by identifying the beliefs you've allowed your past to dictate. What stories do you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of? Once you recognize these patterns, challenge them. Actively look for evidence that disproves your old narratives. Did you overcome a challenge you thought was insurmountable? Did you grow from an experience that once felt like failure? These moments, no matter how small, are proof of your ability to adapt and change. Rewriting your mental narrative isn't easy, but it's essential if you want to escape the prison of your past. Confirmation bias will fight back, trying to pull you toward the familiar comfort of your old beliefs. But comfort is not your ally. It's the enemy of growth. The discomfort of confronting your biases, of dismantling the stories you've clung to, is the price you pay for freedom. And that price is worth every ounce of effort. When you actively seek evidence of your growth, you begin to see your past not as a limitation, but as a foundation. Every failure becomes a stepping stone, every setback a lesson. You realize that the person you were is not the person you are, and certainly not the person you will become. This shift in perspective is what transforms confirmation bias from a barrier into a tool. By choosing what you focus on, you can use it to reinforce a narrative of strength and resilience instead of weakness and failure. Your capacity for change is limitless, but only if you believe it. The evidence is there, waiting to be acknowledged. It's in the times you picked yourself up after falling, the risks you took despite your fears, the growth you achieved even when it felt impossible. These are the moments that define you. Not the failures, not the mistakes, but the resilience and courage you've shown in rising above them. The past will always try to convince you that it holds the final word on who you are. But it doesn't. The final word is yours to write, and you can only write it by rejecting the old stories that no longer serve you. Confirmation bias can either be your jailer or your ally, depending on how you wield it. Choose to see the proof of your potential, and the chains of your past will begin to fall away. The concept of antifragility is simple but powerful. It's the ability to grow stronger, not despite adversity, but because of it. It's the opposite of fragility, where challenges break you. Instead, challenges become the forge that tempers you, refining your resilience and sharpening your resolve. To escape the prison of your past, you must embrace anti-fragility. You must learn to see your hardships not as weights that drag you down, but as tools that shape you into something unbreakable. The fire that once burned, you can now be the fire that fuels you. Anti-fragility demands a shift in mindset. It requires you to stop fearing the difficulties of your past and start seeing them as assets. Each adversity you've faced, each failure you've endured, is a source of strength waiting to be tapped. The scars you carry are not signs of weakness, they're proof that you've survived, that you've endured what others could not. And survival is just the beginning. The next step is to thrive, to use those experiences as building blocks for a future unshackled by fear or regret. Your past doesn't have to be a burden. It can be your greatest teacher, your most valuable ally. But only if you choose to let it. Too many people let their adversities define them, wallowing in self-pity and using their struggles as excuses for stagnation. Antifragility rejects this mindset. It says, yes, this happened. Yes, it was painful. But look at what I've gained because of it. This perspective transforms victimhood into power, turning setbacks into springboards for growth.